Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. There have been a lot of arguments over the years about whether capitalism or communism is superior. And let it be noted that no nation has ever been truly communist. Yes, the old USSR and China claim to be socialist, but let's call them for what they are. They're fascist. In a socialist or communist work environment, the workers own the means of production. Well, it's the dead opposite in a fascist system, where the government owns the means of production. Which of those two examples do you think the USSR or China fits? Well, it's certainly not the workers making the decisions. So we can punt that out right away. Never trust a nation on what it calls itself. The People's Democratic Republic of Korea is not South Korea. But anyways, just as a thought experiment, I thought it'd be interesting, what if we put in an international Soviet right away? Confiscate all the wealth, redistribute it evenly. It's a really easy calculation to make. The gross domestic product, in other words, all the wealth generated by the world and resources, everything else, is about 96 trillion. We know there's 8 billion people in the world. Simple equation. Resources divided by people gives us $12,000 per person. For those of you living in the big cities like, London, New York, Toronto, and stuff like that, you're looking at 12,000 saying, oh my God, that's outrageous. I can't possibly live on that. And you're right. You're 100% right that you cannot live on $12,000 per year. But many people do. I've not only lived in big cities in my life, I've also lived in small ones. And I keep tabs on things. There's a couple cities in the Western educated, industrialized, rich democratic societies I could live very well on for $12,000. Now, assume for a second that you're single, your priorities are just a room and a bed, internet connection, stuff like that. Well, it's easy to do on $12,000. Your rent per month is about $500. Now remember, you're going to get a single bedroom out of that and a shared kitchen. But I mean, you're just trying to get by day to day. You're going to need internet on your phone shared with the house, whatever your plan is. Let's wrap entertainment up for another $100 in that. $100 for a phone plan with unlimited data or a separate modem, however you want to do it, VoIP, I don't care. You can do that for $100 easily. Since you're going to have internet, you kind of don't need the television. But your monthly income on $12,000 a year is roughly, give or take, $1,100. You spent $600 just having the bare necessities. So you're going to have another $400 roughly to go into getting yourself a car, getting yourself whatever else. And I'm saying we portion out jobs accordingly. We do everything the proper socialist manner. Well, the truth is, it's not a terrible life. I don't know how we would convince billionaires and trillionaires to give up their fortune, or how you would reward people for good work. Suppose somebody invents a new car that's better than a Tesla, better than the latest GMC, Ford, Toyota, whatever it is. I think that person honestly deserves some extra privileges. The ruling class is going to wind up getting extra privileges because they're the ones that are going to be flying to summits, flying to conferences, pressing the flesh. So whether you like it or not, they are going to need extra travel privileges. The average person on the street, some of them need extra privileges. We have increasing numbers of people on the autistic spectrum, Down syndrome, stuff like that. They need extra resources too. So, unfortunately, that even number of $12,000 that you could live relatively comfortable on, I mean, $400 for food and for drink is not bad. But like I said, how do you sneak all these extra privileges in? Because you want people not to say, okay, I'm kicking my feet up and staying at home. You need those people to work, even if it's make work jobs. Here's a broom, go sweep the street. But we have street cleaners, yes, I know that. And they have machines, yes, I know that. But like I said, where do you get the extra budget for all the special things? And everybody thinks they're special. Whether it's a person with special needs or a person that has a special talent, you do kind of want to reward both of them. You want the person with special needs to get their medication, their counseling, their therapy, etc. You want the person with the special talent. A lot of people are going to point to an athlete, and a lot of people are going to hate the example of an athlete, but these are people that give their whole lives over to be the best at whatever they're doing. So I do respect it. And let's say you have an artist, a writer, a scientist. These are people, they should have a little bit more of an incentive than Buddy on the sofa. And this becomes the hard part of how to figure things out. There's people in Africa, for example, and $12,000 a year $12,000 a year would be an utter windfall for them. But it's awfully hard to assign work for them. You don't want them to go hunting because there's too many endangered species. But Africa has a long history of abuse, so you don't want to tell everybody, okay, everybody works in the diamond mines, even if we could use that many diamonds, because even on an industrial scale, we don't need as many diamonds as we have. But that's the real problem, is we can make life perfectly equitable, but then how do we divide up work? How do we reward innovation? Communism is based on a positive image of the individual. And this is the reason why it failed. I do believe Lenin had positive intentions. He intended, once the people stop invading the USSR, I do believe that he intended to wind everything back and say, okay, we're now the people, that are going to work towards revolutionizing the economy. Unfortunately, he died too soon, and Stalin was all about Stalin. It was his way or the highway. He altered the idea of the socialism in place of the day from each according to ability to each according to need, which is what I'm working off of. Actual socialism as defined by Marx and Engels. Stalin changed it from each according to ability to each according to work. And like I said, I think you have to pragmatically say that. Again, let's take a scientist. Very famous scientist. She's trying to discover cures, and because of that, she has to go for an expedition into the Amazon rainforest. Well, not only are you going to support the infrastructure for sending her into the Amazon rainforest to collect butterflies and insects and whatever crazy things that they use to discover new compounds, but you also have to have a university behind that. And that university needs other professors, needs to have students come in, needs to feed those students, needs to have places for those students to stay or to park if they are local, needs janitors, it needs people behind the scenes as secretaries. And that's all to get one person in the Amazon to look around and find insects that just might have the right genetic code or produce a substance that kills cancer, that, alleviates heart disease. Marx and Engels weren't wrong. Their system should work, but unfortunately, we're not rich enough to realize it yet. Because, like I said, there's too many what ifs about special privileges, and every special privilege unfortunately costs money. And given our $96 trillion divided by 8 billion people, $12,000 is not a lot of wiggle room. And like I said, budgeting it out, you really don't want to drop much below that. I'm sure the capitalist people will tell me they've already solved the problem, but I've documented the weakness of capitalism many times on this channel. Many times. Neither system is perfect. Like I said, we're not rich enough for communism to be implemented, but maybe when we get towards a Babylon 5 period, a Star Trek period, something like that, it would be possible. But we just can't afford to give $12,000 to every single man, woman, and child without utterly demolishing the economy. And, I mean, it would be a hell of a redistribution. What do you do with a person that has a house worth $300,000? You can't really cut it up and give it to somebody, but that's still in play. It's wealth that's already there. GDP is technically generated every year, and it would be ridiculously unfair for the people who are already in the system. For example, I would only be taking Bill Gates and Elon Musk's profits for this year, not everything they've made up to now. Because, to apply this retroactively would be an absolute nightmare. You'd be telling the Waltons they get to keep their fortune, they get to keep their bank, and all that. Because, like I said, again, dissecting what they've earned and how they've earned would just be a logistical nightmare. I'm talking from now forward, how do we make this work? And the truth is, we need the economy to be much more profitable. Oh, and I'm using information that happened before, Amazon and Apple both lost $1 trillion in stocks. Hasbro got absolutely torpedoed. Twitter got torpedoed. Everybody took a big shot to their wealth. But none of them was crying poor. That's because they have the resources in reserve. And this is something we don't have for the people that I'm trying to implement communism for. There is no reserve. You get the 12,000. It's going to increase every year depending on what happens. But there's really no way to enforce it. You're going to need a tax system that basically says you can earn $12,000 a year and no more. Everything else goes to whoever. And that's billionaires, trillionaires, millionaires, even people on the street know how to hide their money. So you'd have to have an army of accountants with right to seizure and the ability to go in and take assets from people. It would just be a living nightmare. So, like I said, worldwide socialism is possible, but we're just not rich enough yet to give everybody their due and to still be able to conduct business. Because the GDP is everything, including if you want to buy yourself a toy, I don't know, a Game Boy or whatever. Game Boys are so old-fashioned. But you know what I'm talking about. Whatever the latest, Switch system is. That still needs to be built. Worker needs to be paid his $12,000 to build it, and a whole bunch of other ones. They need to be put in a crate. They need to be shipped overseas, brought into your store, and then you need to go in, flash your magic card, because I don't know what to call that. It's not really a debit card, it's not credit card, it's just kind of your allowance card, which just sounds so juvenile. But that would be part of the GDP, and it's a hidden cost, but people are still making money off of it. Like I said, I just wanted to give you something to think about. that cheery, rosy image of the future that was given to us by Star Trek, especially the Next Generation, where they keep saying we don't use money anymore. I think in the original series they also said that. That's the 22nd century and the 23rd century. It's possible by then we could be rich enough as a species to make sure everybody has cradle to grave benefits, and we still have the ability to go out and find more to ensure those with special needs get more. And those special needs not only include disabilities, but also people working on projects to increase things for all humanity. So don't poo poo socialism. Don't think communism is a pipe dream by a German 2 centuries ago. Think it is possible. We just need to figure out how to budget for it. We wish to thank you for joining us on the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed this show, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to click the link down in the description, because every book you buy helps bring this channel lots of benefits. And we hope you have a fantastic